the earth is sick. This plant is in pain. I can hear its cries. When will the agents return to clean this poisoned world? It's you! The agent!
Oh, yes, I'm the agent.
Oh, then you're here to save the world!
You misunderstand. I'm the IRS agent. I'm here to talk to you about your taxes. It says last year you filed $0 in income. Is that correct?
Oh, totally.
Good afternoon, jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. Konami's been knocking the new Structure Deck series out of the park. Even unplayable garbage like the Charmers have a consistent setup line now, so when they announced Agents, one of the most powerful structure decks of all time, was getting a retrain, I was sure they were gonna be broken. Anyway.
Name's Banks. Cody Banks.
Agent Cody Banks.
So here's the list, which comes courtesy of Rebby. I looked around to see if anyone else was playing something different, but the consensus seems to be that no one's really playing much of this deck at all. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is the pack opening website that everyone's using for their progression series, but you might have also missed it's got a deck builder, a card database, and a wealth of strategy articles. I personally use it to post the Chalice Line monthly deck breakdowns, so give it a look at www.ygoprodeck.com. With that, let's assemble the agents. Agents are a series of fairy-type monsters that benefit from the Sanctuary in the Sky. How original. These monsters, each of which corresponds to a celestial body, were classically used to summon a bunch of vanillas from deck with the Agent of Creation Venus and set up Crystallocks in deck lists that looked like they'd be legal in Trinity format. The dirty little secret of Agent is that their period of dominance corresponded with a period of cheaters doing some fancy shuffling. And at the local level, let's just say you were a lot more likely to draw Venus than you were to draw a mystical Shine Ball. Nowadays, a game plan like that just doesn't cut it. Opening a few Shine Balls is a death sentence in a format where every card is so high impact, and the archetype's old boss monster, Master Hyperion, looks pretty weak when a deck can glance in the direction of access code and pop an entire field. But boy does the new stuff help. There are a few setups in this deck, but they all revolve around the new Synchro, Master Flare Hyperion. This card can copy a monster's effect, including the new Parshath link, and banish a card at quick speed. With any free special, the Agent of Mystery Earth can grab a Neptune, make the new Agent link, use that to get the new Hyperion, and then extend into Master Flare alongside a Hauka Fibrax, which can tag into the Executor of Hades, Pluto, on your opponent's turn. If you find a Diviner, you can instead send a Tyrios to make it to Master. Realistically, most hands end on the Synchro and probably a Destroyer Phoenix, and the really excellent ones sprinkle Lost Sanctuary and Pluto in there as well. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up is the Agent of Mystery Earth. This is the Stratos of the archetype, but unfortunately because it triggers on normal summon, you can't play Adventure. Next up is the Agent of Life Neptune. You can discard this card to summon an agent from your hand or graveyard, and if it's banished, you can add a Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck to your hand. Once the Majesty Hyperion is in play, this is how you're going to be adding the Sanctuary. We're playing 3 copies of Protecting Spirit Logeth. This card is a free special, followed by a copy of Master Hyperion and 2 Majesty Hyperion, which has the same effect as Master Hyperion in terms of the summoning condition. It can just come from graveyard as well. Its reward is way lower, unfortunately. It banishes cards from the graveyard, but it does come up. Mostly, we're using it here as an extender, and because it's a hard garnet, we are going to go ahead and play 2 of them. We've got 3 Diviner, 1 Tyrios to send off the Diviner, and you need 1 Fairy 1-star Tuner in order to summon off of the Diviner's graveyard effect once you've tributed it for Tyrios, so you can make Master Flare. Hanawata is just the funniest. After that, we've got 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, and 2 Nibiru, alongside the Garnets for our Fusion Destiny. Next up is the Sacred Water of the Sky. This activates a Sanctuary in the Sky directly from your deck, or adds a monster that specifically lists that card in its text from your deck to your hand. Then if the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard, you gain 500 for each Hyperion and Agent monster you control, because I guess every single deck needs a way to win in time. It also can be banished from your graveyard if a monster that lists the Sanctuary in the Sky would be destroyed by battle. After that, we've got 1 Sanctuary because it's so recyclable, 3 Pot of Prosperity, 2 Fusion Destiny, 3 Infinite Impermanence, and 1 Lost Sanctuary. When this card's activated, you get to set a Sanctuary in the Sky or a spell trap that mentions it directly into your deck from your back row. Then its name becomes Sanctuary in the Sky when this card is on the field or in the graveyard. You can banish a fairy monster from your graveyard to negate the effects of a face-up monster your opponent controls until the end of the turn. In the extra, we've got Entis, DPE, Double Master Flare, Cheng-Ying, Baron de Fleur, Pluto, Access Code Talker, Celestial Nightlord Parshath, you're usually sending this off of Master Flare, Nightmare Unicorn, Phoenix, Guard of the Agent's Moon. This technically is an agent. It does have that in its name, although there's an S at the end. 1 Halka Fibrax, a Verte Anaconda, and an Almirage. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Branded Monarch, and this is a really interesting deck idea. I guess Extra Deck Monarch was good once, why not again? We've opened really well here. We're going to begin with a copy of Sacred Water of the Sky that's going to add from deck to hand an Agent of Mystery Earth. We're going to normal summon the Agent of Mystery Earth, we'll use its effect to get a copy of Neptune, then we'll special summon the Logeth from our hand. From here, we can link off into the Agent Link and use its effect in order to add to the graveyard a copy of Majesty. We'll Neptune back this copy of Earth, then we'll banish the Neptune for the Majesty, triggering the Neptune to get a Sanctuary in the Sky. From here, we can make Halka Fibrax with the Earth because it's a tuner to get a Diviner from deck, go into a copy of Master Flare, use Master Flare to copy the Parshath Link, and then use its new effect to add a Lost Sanctuary to hand. We'll set Lost Sanctuary, activate Sanctuary, and pass back to our opponent. They're going to begin with a copy of Branded Opening. Now, I screwed this up just a little bit. I should have flipped the Lost Sanctuary so we can negate the effects of the Aluber on summon. It can't, unfortunately, be responded to in that way. As a result, they are going to be able to resolve this, but no big deal. We have the Ash, but they have the Called By, but we have the Pluto. We can use Pluto to flip down this Aluber and banish our Ash Blossom in the process so that it's not negated and gets to negate the Branded Fusion. Our opponent is going to go for a Pantheism. We're going to give them another Pantheism because they pick 2 copies of Stormforth. They'll go for the return, trigger the return on Tribute Summon. We'll go for the Master Flare to banish the return, and they'll set 1 and pass. From here, let's just shut our eyes and pretend it is 2012. We'll go Water again to get a copy of Earth. We'll normal summon the Earth. We'll use its effect to get the one, the only Master Hyperion. Then we'll summon the Master Hyperion, trigger its effect to pop the back row, trigger its effect again to pop the Shadal Beast, and then summon from graveyard a copy of Majesty Hyperion to banish that copy of Pantheism just in case. We'll go to the battle phase and get in for well over lethal. Our second match is up against Magistus, and this hand is less good. Most of the combos in this deck are 2 cards, and we've only opened the Agent of Mystery Earth. We're going to begin with the Agent of Mystery Earth. We can still get something going here. We're going to add from deck to hand a copy of Neptune. We'll go into an Almirage, then use Neptune to bring back the Earth, and then summon a Master Hyperion, triggering the effect of the Neptune for a Sanctuary in the Sky. We can Synchro Summon into a copy of Master Flare here in order to send a copy of Majesty. We'll summon the Majesty and then go into a Verte. When you have no other choice, or sometimes when you think that you might have a choice. We're going to set an Infip and pass back to our opponent to DPE, take us home. They're going to go for Hat Tricker into Abyss Dweller. Uh-oh, this DPE had better win the game now. They're going to go for a Zorua. We will banish that with Master Flare. Their normal is very important in this deck. They're going to go for Fleur-de-Lis afterwards and then proceed to the battle phase. We are able to trade for the Fleur-de-Lis with a Verte Anaconda using the effect of the DPE, at which point our opponent will concede. Whew. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Branded, and though we have opened the silver bullet against the strategy, Ash Blossom for the fusion, they have a Called By, and we do not have a Pluto with which to stop it. So there it is. Now, the frustrating thing about Branded is it usually does a 4-summon setup, but with 2 polymerizations in hand, it's possible my opponent gets just a little bit greedy. At that point, we could Nibiru, which would be nice. They're going to go Mirror Jade into Edge Imp Chain, into Frightful Patchwork, into Mirror Jade, into Polymerization. All right, looks like we are going to be able to do it. They're going to use Ad Libitum to bring back the Mirror Jade, and then we'll Nibiru. Now, here's the frustrating part, that Mirror Jade is not a hard once per turn, so even at end step, they're going to be able to trigger both the Brigand and the Albion, which adds them a Mercurier to hand and sets a copy of Opening. Oh god, they already have the red. Okay, we're going to do our best. We're going to normal summon a Diviner of the Heralds, and then activate the effect to send a Tyrios. We'll special summon the Logeth, then we'll activate Tyrios for 2. I should have taken the 50-50 on the Branded in red, but I go for what I know is the Opening instead. We'll get a Hanawata from deck to go into a Master Flare Hyperion. We'll use the effect copying the Parshath link in order to add the Sacred Water of the Sky from deck to hand. We are going to get a copy of Neptune and go to the battle phase. We could keep extending, but we need them to activate something, and frustratingly, you can brand it in red during the end phase. So while we can banish the last remaining card in their field with Master Flare and trigger the effect of Neptune, they're going to get to plus even harder, and unfortunately, we can't beat a recurred Mirror Jade. Because of that, we're just going to concede here. So it's time for game 2, and, well, at least we're going first this time. We're going to start with the Pot of Prosperity. We'll find off the top. Ooh, Logeth. That's exactly where we want to be. We're going to add the Logeth from deck to hand. We're going to normal summon this copy of Agent of Mystery Earth. We're going to summon the Logeth, and Unfortunately, we will not search the Neptune. Okay, what can we do here? Well, there's some crazy stuff. We'll go Guard of the Ancient's Moon in order to send a copy of Majesty to grave. We're going to bring back the Majesty and go into Celestial Night Lord Parshath, unironically. He's fine. Don't laugh, he's fine. We'll add Waters, we're going to add Sanctuary, and we'll go into a DPE, passing it back to our opponent. God, I hope this works. They'll draw for turn, they're going to activate Branded Opening, pitching this copy of Crossy they found off the top to summon a copy of Aluber, and they've confided in me that they only play one Ash Blossom, so when they fire this Branded Fusion, we will be able to get through the Crossy. They're going to go for it right now, we will Ash Blossom, and oh, thank God they are not playing a second copy. They're going to go for Fateful Adventure here. This is maybe a little bit of a misplay. I popped the token instead because I forgot that Branded Fusion has text on it. We'll go for the DPE in Graveyard, they're going to go for the Water Enchantress they bind, and then they'll set one and pass. Okay, we should easily be able to win from this position, especially after we dasher out this Nibiru. My God. They're going to get a Draco back. Who really cares? We're going to get the DPE back. We'll go for Celestial, draw a couple of cards, and there we go. That's enough for a Majesty and a Parshath activation. Going for Agent of Mystery Earth, adding from deck to hand a Master Hyperion, going into Master Flare, making Master, triggering Master, popping the Unknown back row, and the Aluber, and we are well over lethal. So it's time for that all-important Game 3, and Ash 3 games in a row. I am just cracked. Our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Water Enchantress. I maybe should have ashed this, but I didn't want them to have the right in hand already. They're going to go for the Rite of Aramasir. Down comes the token, down comes the Fateful. They'll trigger the Fateful, and we have to ash this, or else they're going to have the Omni up. They're going to go for the Tragedy here in order to get the Draco back, and down comes Verte. This is such a weak hand. I definitely could have done this if I just drew one more hand trap. They'll go Foolish Burial to send a copy of Snow, and oh God, this must be a lot better than I expected. They'll go Albion at end step to set a copy of Branded in Red, and let's see if we can do this. I go for the Sacred Water of the Sky, trying to get them to do something that can maybe get us something off the Imperm, but they're not going to commit. We'll go for Agent of Mystery Earth to go into Almirage. We'll go Neptune to bring back the Agent of Mystery Earth, and from here we can go into a Hauk. We'll go for Hauk to get another Agent of Mystery Earth, just want more agents in rotation for Majesty. They're going to go for Branded in Red here to go to Lubellion. They'll trigger Lubellion and Tragedy in order to add from deck to hand an Aluber, and then Fusion Summon into a Mirror Jade, which they will then activate, banishing this copy of Hauk. No big deal. We can go for Majesty here and make the Synchro, but Snow tucking my Earth on field will lock it up. Close, but no cigar. So we're back with the deck, and, well, I'm impressed it took a game off of Branded, but I'm not surprised at how clunky it looked. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. Master Hyperion is a house. I kind of expected him to be mid, but the combination of the copy effect, the banish, and the huge attack stat is a little too much for some decks to handle. 2, the lines having some play to them means that it's really hard for your opponent to figure out exactly where they should be stopping you. And 3, it's nice to play agents again without having to worry about your balls. And the cons. 1, Majesty Hyperion looks like a boss monster that should have come out in 2015. It's nowhere near good enough to compete in a modern metagame, and as a result basically just exists as synchro fodder for better cards. 2, all of the combos are 2-card, which kind of sucks in a format with Aramasir, Branded Fusion, and FD. And 3, it's just not strong enough. Occasionally you can gum up a board state with hand traps so that your big boys can push through, but it's got no defensive capability, no way to push through multiple points of interaction, and no way to assemble lethal unless it's way ahead. All in all, maybe the first miss of the structure deck retrains. I mean, at least the Machina one made peeps happy.